it, fella. Look here.
Stand by.
One for C-Lab, two for Draw Eagle, three for Wolverine to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Broadcasting live from inside the Power Band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. What do I say next?
I'm your host.
Oh, I'm your host, Kevin, along with my friends, Ben.
Hey.
And Chad.
Yo.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Warm greetings from us all at the beginning of this holiday season.
Warm greetings from the heart of the Cold War.
There you go. And to celebrate that, we're talking about the 1984 classic John Milius film, Red Dawn, starring Patrick Swayze, C. Thomas Howell, Lane Smith, Ron Bella, Charlie Sheen, Powers Booth, Leah Thompson, Jennifer Grey. Oh my God. I can't wait to talk about this movie. Let's get to it. High level.
First things first, the only thing I think about when I hear John Milius is the Arnie impression of you guys saying John Milius, and I like it. It's just the perfect
John
Arnie kind of name.
It is. It's definitely a good name for Arnold to say. Milius, Valeria, mopping.
This is my first viewing. I'm curious about your guys' high levels first.
Oh my God. All right, Chad, you get the honor of going first.
Oh, I got to go first.
Viewing.
Okay. Yeah, so I suppose my high level, it's the first time watching. I was 4 when it came out, which explains why I missed it.
Okay, yep.
It's not really a movie for a 4-year-old. And it was the most, like, Cold War fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was so...
Right.
It was so funny how Cold War hardcore it was. Like, it was just like, I don't know. I saw in kind of reading a little bit about this that, like, the plot of the Central Plains being invaded from the south and people linking up from the north was actually, like, kind of had some substance in terms of the weakest part of the American defenses at that time. But I just find the idea of, you know, Cuban paratroopers parachuting into bumfuck Idaho like after a football game just so funny, dude.
Yeah.
And it was just like super propaganda heavy, like just it was really...
Oh yeah,
it's stupid.
You know, a combination of that plus the like infinite ammo cheat code that these like 6 teenagers had, like they had so much fucking ordnance, dude. And
yeah,
it was like I totally was like cracking up and thought it was kind of silly and really propaganda heavy, kind of right up until the end where it kind of came good a little bit with, you know, the futility of war and kind of the Cuban dude coming to grips with things. So there was a little bit of something. There's a glimmer in the end, but it was pretty funny.
I don't know, man.
There was like a twinkle in the eye of the crazed propagandist. But it was quite an interesting ride.
wow. Yeah. All right, let's. I guess we'll go from bad to good. Benny, what's your high?
I didn't say bad. It was just quite a ride.
Yeah, no. I hear you loud and clear, and I'm reading the subtext as well.
Okay,
Benny, go ahead.
It's a 1.1 in the algorithm.
There you go.
This, what is it, like an hour and 50 something minutes movie? It took me 3 hours to watch it because I kept like losing focus and not paying attention, and
oh my God,
I had to go back and rewind it.
Really?
Yeah, it just struck me as like, I don't know, Reagan era fucking propaganda, essentially. It just like I didn't really, you know, that paired with like a lot of time jumps.
Benny's favorite.
Yeah, month to month for sure.
And just some, I don't know. It just did not do it for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it never really, it was never like a favorite of mine or anything. I think I'd maybe seen it once, maybe twice, probably just once before. So, yeah.
Wow.
Strap on your American flag bandana, Kev, because I want to hear the good stuff.
Okay. All right. I guess, I don't know, man. I'm really surprised to hear Benny's High Level, man. I would have thought this would have been right up there with the other staple 80s movies that we both typically love. Now, because this movie, for me, I guess I saw it at the right time or it hit at the right time. I don't know what it was, but like I love this movie. Like this is a yearly watch for me at least one time. I love this movie. If I find it on a streaming service, I will definitely watch it. I think sort of now that I'm like older and I know a little bit more about John Milius.
Who?
John Milius, the director.
Who?
John Milius. Now that I know a little bit more about John Milius, I think he was a good choice to direct it. He's kind of raw, in his directing style. He did a really great job with Conan the Barbarian, which came out, in and around this time. I don't know. I just love it. I think it's an excellent movie, man. It's a cool story. Like, yeah, sure, it's Reagan era propaganda and all that crap, but like, it's a cool story, man. It's a cool fantasy story, I think, like one of you guys said that, well, hold on. Let me finish my high level. I've always loved this movie, man. It's just one of those movies from the 80s that I loved it when I was a kid and I still love it. I think it holds up. I think it's great. I watched it twice this week. I had no trouble doing that. It's great, man. I love it. Nice. So I'll leave it at that for now, and we can sort of debate it as we go.
I mean, when I say Reagan era propaganda, like it's exactly that, but to come to the defense of the propaganda a little bit, that seemed to be where many, many people's heads were at that time.
Oh, no doubt.
And so I think it kind of fits with that time a little bit. Which, like, looking back, there's some, like, I don't know. I remember feeling that way a little bit here and there growing up, pre-Berlin Wall falling down. But at the same time, I feel like it really dials it up to 11. And a lot of people were dialed up to 11. And it just kind of shows how absurd being that terrified was. But at the same time, like, it's easy to say now that we know the outcome as opposed to then where it wasn't known, So it's just kind of an interesting period in history, I suppose.
No doubt about that, man. I think, so I'll start off by commenting on something that one of you guys said about, people, these troops parachuting in and all this sort of thing, so the whole premise is that, or we later discover that Powers Booth, he tells everybody that, these troops, sort of came in clandestinely on these commercial air flights and these commercial planes, and parachuted in and all this kind of thing. And this was these were like actual scenarios that were worked out by various people that were consulted on the film. You know what I mean? Like and some of these were like, scenarios that, CIA people had dreamt up or whatever. So, it was all sort of somewhat not based in reality, but based in, the kind of what if the U.S. was invaded, you know what I mean? So I found that kind of interesting.
They pulled it out of one of the giant books of contingency planning.
Yeah, something like that, man.
It really fucking jumped off quick. Like, I was aware of Red Dawn being a movie about, like, Soviets taking over just because you guys chatted about it in a few episodes. And so, like, it was like Patrick Swayze, like, good luck at the game, Jimmy. And all of a sudden, fucking a bunch of dudes come down and machine gun up a history teacher. Like, it fucking pops off fast as.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. I was expecting a little bit more of a build-up, but I guess how do you build up to a Russian invasion? You kind of don't.
I know. Well, why not just jump right into it? You know what I mean? Like, we get the text at the beginning, so it's like, why not just dive right in? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that's one of the strengths of the movie. Like, it's just like, just jump right into it. Like, why wait? And it's like, it's kind of what makes it good, and it kind of what makes it kind of jarring too. It's just like, you're as sort of jarred, I guess, as a viewer as like, the people in the story are. It's just like, it just starts and you're just like, holy shit, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden it's like freaking chaos. So, in that respect, if they were trying to, or if Milius was trying to, like, kind of, pull people into the same sensation, I think it worked.
Yeah. How did this do? Did it, like, catch on with the zeitgeist, or did it just kind of randomly come and go? Do you know?
I don't know, man. I don't really. I don't know what my recollection of it is. I mean, like me and all my friends loved this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and we were all about, as young boys, we were all about playing war all the time anyway. So I don't know. To us, it was just like, and again, like Ben has talked about in the past, like growing up in that era where you were like, you thought about this kind of thing, going to war and all that kind of thing. It was there. It was in the collective consciousness, sort of. I mean, it was a $17 million budget. It made $38 million, so it was a success.
Did it right. It was definitely interesting seeing this in the context of kind of the Ukraine situation and how piss poor Russia's military ended up performing.
Right.
That was definitely kind of an interesting lens to view it through for first viewing. Because it was the same in the Cuban Missile Crisis and the same in the Cold War, where like we hyped them up as equal adversaries, and it turns out at every step of the way it was like a bit of a paper tiger, where they projected power, but it turned out they fucking didn't have the chops to back up their bullshit.
Interesting. Yeah, right on.
Versus here, where we're like fantasizing about them actually having the ability to take over, the entire middle of the country.
Mm-hmm. Again, like that's the other sort of thing of it. Like, I don't know. There's not a lot of movies like this where it's like the U.S. is being invaded, and
it's like Man in a High Castle.
In the movie, yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that. It's like Man in the High Castle is like one of the only ones that I can think of, but in the movie they kind of posit that no enemy forces occupied American soil, and as I was reading about this, that's of course untrue because the British occupied American soil in the War of 1812. In a couple of different spots, certainly not to like a massive scale like this, but it's still, I don't know. It's interesting to see what that sort of looked like, I thought too,
Yeah, it was interesting. Like it was very American fuck yeah, but like it kind of makes sense for the subject matter when it comes to like what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has a Lord of the Flies little vibe to it as well, like these kids kind of.
It's like September, football game gets shot up. October, they all are mass murderers. 30 days later, they're out there like fucking Rambo. It was really funny, dude.
Not absurd at all.
Not absurd at all. You're like, hey, the Air Force guy lands, like, hey, we're going to wake up, sleepyhead, we're going to take on an armored column. Like,
yep.
Okay. So fucking funny, dude. 4 teenagers with like AKs or whatever fucking take on APCs and shit. So funny.
I mean, I guess like this, I will say that this is definitely the first viewing where I was like, I started questioning, certain things like that. And when he's like, they have like, the little, the little diagram above the base, that they're going to go in and take it out. And Powers Booth is like explaining this and explaining that, like a flanking maneuver and all this kind of thing. And I was like, wait a second, man, where do they get all this intel from, dude? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, for them to go and get their own intel would require, days,
scouting
days,
and shit.
Exactly. Traveling via horseback or whatever, man, going into town. I mean, they seem, presumably like they're so deep in the mountains where nobody can get at them, So it's like if they were getting their own intel, it would require a lot of work, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It's fucking funny, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Totally believable.
It seems to be a very like schoolboy fantasy kind of movie. Yeah,
I guess it is, man. I guess it is.
I particularly enjoyed the the shot of the bumper of the truck. It's like, you can have my gun when you pry for my cold dead hand, and then this Cuban dude pries a gun from the dude. Just like, oh my god, guys! It's like very on the nose.
Yeah,
Fuck,
it was
great,
extremely
dude.
on the nose.
But like, it's like nothing against people. Well, I don't know. Only medium things against people that are such gun freaks and stuff. But like, it's really funny to have the movie be so like, schoolboy fantasy and kind of like gun-toting doomsday prepper fantasy. It's like so improbable.
You said it.
I don't know. Instead of being like super I don't know if bored is the word. Like, I enjoyed the silliness of the ride as opposed to just like not digging the movie. I thought it was kind of funny and weird and ridiculous. Maybe I was in the mood for ridiculous.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like, wow, this is like prepper porn.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess it is kind of prepper porn a little bit, sort of. I don't know. I guess it must be that I was just at the perfect age when this movie came out. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
It was like the guys in the movie were a little bit older than me, so they were like, whatever, 15 to 19, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't that terribly, or at least it never seemed that terribly implausible to me. These like two kids that grew up hunting in the mountains, like, going up to the mountains to survive. It's like they already knew how to do that. So that always, I guess to me, I was always like, yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Well,
I mean,
That piece is believable.
if they went up to the mountains to like, hunt and live off the land and like ride it out, that would be one thing. But as Chad said, taking down armored columns, like
it's true.
It's a little, whatever. That's fine. It's not like action movies don't have like ridiculous premises, but just this one for some reason really just like it just struck me as like hardcore fucking Reagan era propaganda and like just prepper porn, like it just I wasn't like super attached to any of the characters, like, and even the story itself seemed like less of a cohesive story and more of like, sort of like the greatest hits moments from like, this like smattering of, time, through this war or whatever, like with the time jumps and stuff. It just didn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't like super like, well, then this happened. It was like, well, then this happened. And then 9 months later, this happened. And then, 2 weeks later, they did this. And then they found fucking Power's booth. And then he got killed. And then, it was just like, I don't know. This is how it seemed to me. It didn't seem like, something that was happening in like a cohesive time frame.
Right.
It's like trying to tell the story of an entire war in, a little less than 2 hours by just sort of like, cherry picking, some moments, as it were,
In an overall time span of about 6 months, if that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think what's really making me laugh right now is like I'm listening to Ben saying that, and like everything I think about this movie is like literally the opposite. I'm like, God, this is so good, man. The story's so good. I love the way they break it up by month. Like I love it all, dude. And I do. Like I still think that, man. And now I'm already starting to question my own sanity. Go ahead. What?
I might feel differently if I had a lot of nostalgia for this, but I don't. It was like, obviously, like, we watched a ton of like war movies and action movies and stuff. This one just wasn't like a staple in the household, nor was it like a big one amongst my friends. So it just kind of gets swept by the wayside. And I remember hearing about it and being like, oh, check that out. But like, it just never made a big impression on me. And I never really, it's not one of those, it wasn't a Hey Beastmaster's on kind of thing for me at all.
No.
Oh, so, most definitely not a Hey Beastmaster's on.
I guess as many like kind of 80s action movies, like if you weren't really connected to it, then, if you see it nowadays, it probably just kind of seems janky.
Well, I mean, we've I don't know, this is really interesting to me because like we've covered movies that are 80s movies that I remember loving, you know what I mean, and having nostalgia for that we've done both, like ones that I'm still in 2022 like, wow, this is so great, it still holds up, like this is awesome. And then there were others that I'm clearly like, okay, the nostalgia was clearly carrying the or driving the boat across the ocean of time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one to me, like, like I said, I watch this movie like at least once a year, at least. And like, I still love this movie. Like, I think it's a really well done movie, you know what I mean? And I think Milius does a really good job of bringing like a gritty realism to it, like he kind of does with all of his movies, man. You know, he very much did the same thing in Conan the Barbarian, and
also a totally plausible movie.
Well, all right, fair enough. But, you know, they also, like, as I was doing some reading, you know, it turns out, like, I read a lot of things I never knew about this movie. Like, you know, the ex-general Alexander Haig was a board member for MGM, and he, like, started advocating for this movie heavily and kind of took Kevin Reynolds under his wing and, like, all of this sort of thing. And they, you know, visited these various different places and institutes, and they, you know, did a lot of research, you know, that... So a lot of this stuff isn't just like, you know, two guys in the room like, well, what if, you know, like these were based, I mean, a lot of these ideas were based on things that people had thought of, like actual military people, intelligence people, you know, like that kind of thing. So I don't know, to me that lent even more credence to, you know, this idea. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a fantasy, it's fiction, I get it. But, you know, when something's that well researched, you know what I mean, and kind of fleshed out, like we've talked about, like in world building, like, you know, it makes it more plausible and kind of draws you in. So like, again, you know, like like the polar opposite of Ben. I'm like watching this movie and listening to him, and I'm just like, nope, I just think this is so great.
It's like you did all this research and that's what you ended up with.
Not sure what there is to be gained by taking over middle of the nowhere Colorado, but okay.
Fair enough. I don't know. It's so funny too because like I remember when the 2012 remake came out, and I was just like, you know, I was one of those nerds that was just like, no, you know,
how dare you, sir?
Terrible. I will never see it. I will be discussing my contempt on the internet immediately. You know, like that kind of thing.
Contempt for this movie in my bunker.
Oh my God. And then I watched it and I was just like, this sucks. You know.
Benny just had the same experience.
Terrible, man. I even saw when I went to rent this movie on Vudu, I was like, I saw that there was a bundle. The original Red Dawn and the new Red Dawn. And I was like, how dare they bundle this with that turd? You know, like.
I love it.
How dare indeed.
I feel like,
you know,
the logical extension of the kids taking on armored columns is like a Boss Baby 3, where like a baby fucking takes on the Russian military. Like, it's just super funny how many tweens it takes to screw in a light bulb here. Like, these fucking 10 teenagers killed like 100 dudes and like 50 fucking armored vehicles, popping grenades in tanks. It was just beautiful. It was a beautiful
100 dudes is light, man.
Yeah.
Because this movie, one of the nuggets that I found, which I thought was interesting, that at the time this was rated the most violent movie ever. Like at the time that it came out.
That's great.
And they said that there was a violent act every 2.23 seconds. I was like, wow, okay.
Right. Wasn't it something along the lines of 137 people killed per hour in the movie?
Really? I love it.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I particularly enjoyed the Air Force dude, Powers Booth, lands in, and he's just kind of like, a bunch of ragtag kids, and then they go out and take on the armored column. Swayze's like, watch these claymores, bud. Fucking turns a switch and just fucking nukes a bunch of dudes from orbit. It was fucking great, dude. Leia Thompson with her machine gun.
Yeah, man, totally. I don't know. Like, see, I to me, it was like, you know, they pick up the two girls hiding at the thing, and they clearly been like, you know, had a bad run-in, you know what I mean? And, you know, so they were just bitter and kind of dark, dude, you know, and you could see that throughout the course of the rest of the story, man. And I really like that. I think it lent a lot to it, you know, especially seeing that from those two actresses, you know, especially when they were so young. You know?
I guess there was a double love story in there, which I'm glad was not in the movie.
There were two. Yeah, they cut them both out. Thank God, man.
That would have been weird. Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I kind of got like Three Amigos vibes, where one of the amigos is like, hands up, and 75 dudes put their hands up and throws their guns down, you know, on the armored column stuff. Like, it was just all these Cubans just getting fucking Swiss cheese with machine guns. Like, everyone got out of their armored personnel carriers and lined up to get shot, kind of thing.
Yeah, I love how they all jumped down the hill on the other side of the road, and then they all got greased.
It's so funny, dude. Like, master tacticians and shit.
Yes. Fucking.
In traditional Wyatt Earp style, Green Tides sent some messages about All Quiet on the Western Front, which is now out on Netflix. And he was talking about how like, heavy duty it was in comparison to like Private Ryan. He was just like, I had to stop watching it because it was so gory and stuff. I was like, oh, I'm really interested. So I ended up watching that the night before I watched this.
Interesting.
And it was interesting to kind of compare a movie focused on kind of the futility of war to a kind of propaganda-esque movie, because there definitely was some sprinklings of the futility of war in here. Like, you kind of see that Milius was kind of going for it a little bit, but I think it's the kind of implausibility driveness of the whole thing that kind of made it a more traditional action-y patriotic film as opposed to like a serious kind of war film. But Western Front was interesting. It's worth checking out.
All right, yeah. Yeah, we'll check it out for sure.
Can we talk about Cuban Jimmy Smits now?
Oh, man. Wait, what? Jimmy Smits?
Well, one of the dudes, I think it was the guy that ends up not shooting them at the end, kind of had a Jimmy Smits vibe.
He did have a Jimmy Smits vibe. I mean, it's kind of, Jimmy Smits is Latino.
Probably, so probably works.
He might even be Cuban.
He might even be Jimmy Smits' like uncle or brother or
brother. Ironically enough, the actor's name is Ron O'Neill, and he definitely does not look Irish, I can tell you that.
From the Tipperary O'Neills.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really like that guy. I mean, again, my my take on this is so radically different than both of you, man. Like, I love that guy. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, he was good.
I thought everything he did was excellent. I love the whole thing at the end with the letter, dude. And he's like, reading the letter out loud in his head.
Black hair. It's like, all right, man.
Oh my God! Come on.
Come on, Ben.
I'm going to hand in my card and come home to you. Okay.
God, and then he has the opportunity to shoot the two of them, and he's just like, he sees them, and he's just like, no.
Vaya con Dios, Bodhi. Get out of here.
Yeah, there you go. There's a nugget right there, dude.
Totally.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I do, and I thought Ron O'Neill was great. Irish Ron O'Neill.
I used to be a partisan. Now I'm a policeman. I'm like, okay, bro. I enjoyed the Harry Dean Stanton concentration camp thing.
I love that, man.
I know. Avenge me! In an opposite land, I thought it was really, I don't know, I thought it was really funny, and I don't know. I just love the idea of them like chain link fencing a drive-in, and it's like they've only been there for like 5 days, and they're all like fucking ragged and like hanging on for dear life and starving to death, and it's been like a week, like, I just found the timeline really funny, dude. Because the movie kind of makes it seem like it's like a 10-year slog, but it's only like 6 months, you know what I mean?
It does, you're right.
It's like they spend 6 months in the woods drinking deer blood, and they come back to town, and their families have been tortured for like 3 years in a concentration camp. But it had only been like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that I could see as very plausible. But yeah, you're right.
Oh God, I got a chuckle out of it.
It was definitely.
You don't cry ever again.
Again, I never thought about all that. I was just like, yes, this is so awesome,
God, that
man.
shit. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Turn it into something else.
Don't cry.
It was so macho. I loved it. And the Avenge Me, dude. Oh God, the Avenge Me.
This perfectly encapsulates what you guys think. I had Wikipedia open, and I was reading before we were getting set up, and it says right here, But Red Dawn's self-seriousness can never conceal the silliness of its alarmist concept.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
That's exactly it right there.
And like Harry Dean Stanton's like, I know I was a piece of shit dad that used to kick the shit out of you and not really do anything.
No, he was not.
But
he didn't say that.
I did it for your own good. Now you're
said.
Tough. I was like, okay.
Oh my god, dude. I don't. Here's the thing that's great, man, is that this movie is so bulletproof in my head, dude. Is that all of these bullets you guys are firing are just bouncing right off. Man.
Yeah, you got your fingers in your ears.
It.
La 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 la. You're not listening to anything.
Not even, man. I'm just like, nope. I still love it.
And the Oscar
Nope,
for
I
Best
still
Picture
love it.
1984 goes to
in the United States of Kev, the Oscar in 1984 goes to Red Dawn and the entire cast.
Oh my god.
Oh wow, that is good. That is good stuff.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it is like the seriousness that just destroys the film.
Well, see, that's I don't know. I mean, like if I inhabit your space for a minute, like I think that's exactly right, Ben. You know what I mean?
But Schwarzenegger movies were obviously like thinly veiled, kind of propaganda,
Yeah.
but they were self-aware in a way that they were able to be funny,
Mm-hmm.
And you knew it was just like entertainment. Whereas this was like, I think
So
meant
heavy.
to like, you're supposed to like go out to the gun store afterwards and like, buy some powdered eggs and start digging,
Start digging, dude.
It's that difference that really makes it just like, ugh.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I mean,
To me, anyways.
no. I think you're right. Like, I mean, it's so heavy and so dark and so serious, man. You know what I mean? Like, there is no levity in this movie whatsoever. You know what I mean? And even the parts where there's a little bit of levity, like it almost makes it sadder because it's so serious and so like, bleak. Like it's a very bleak movie, man. You know what I mean? Like these kids trying to like make this happen, you know what I mean? And there's not a lot of triumph going on, man, So like, you take a Commando, for instance, it's like there's little there's little pebbles thrown in the pond there of levity, with Arnold and his ridiculous puns and, what's in this? Stick around and all that crap, dude. Like Bennett, This, on the other hand, is just like, it's super serious.
Yeah, but I don't think it quite sells it either. So,
well, I think it does, but I get where you're coming from completely. I can see both sides of it. I mean, it's funny. Like, I never even considered anything that you guys are saying. Like, when you guys first started talking, I was just like, oh my God. I was like, how does anybody not love this movie?
Are we talking about the same movie?
I was. I was like, wow, how does anybody not love this amazing movie that got an Oscar in my head? You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, to be fair, I remembered so little about it that I was like, kind of, all right, yeah, this will be great. It's like a forgotten gem for me. And then I like the more it went on, the more I was like, oh no.
You paused it halfway through and started watching Nothing But Trouble.
No, I didn't pause it halfway through. I started like looking at my phone and then realized that I missed like a half an hour of the movie and had to rewind it.
I think the bleakness of the movie for me was overshadowed by like the fucking turbo bleakness of All Quiet on the Western Front. So I think that movie kind of actually put me in the right place for this one, where I was just like way more focused on the kind of maybe not silliness of it, but like the implausibility made it so that I was more along for the ride than like being like super fucking film criticky about it. Not that I'm saying that's what you're doing, Benny, but just like I would have been more film criticky about it if I had, not seen something else in the genre. Because it's super bleak, but I didn't pick it up as bleak because I had just watched like the most fucking hardcore movie in a long ass time, like super hardcore war movies. So I was like, oh, this is kind of silly, So the bleak stuff kind of just didn't even hit me so much.
Right. Yeah, well, interesting dichotomy we have going here.
I mean,
I hope I'm not being
I like how
film
you're
criticky
like
about this. It's just
Go ahead, Benny.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, I hope I'm not being too film criticky about this. I'm just trying to articulate why I didn't particularly find it engaging.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I was
well, I
saying
mean,
more
that's
that I
important.
would have
I mean-
been film criticky about it, not that you were at all. Yeah, I
No,
would
no,
definitely
okay.
have been more like me about this had I think, just watched it without having randomly seen that other movie.
No, there's no wrong. I mean, like, I think what one of the great things about these conversations that we have, there's no wrong way to feel about the movie.
Yeah, it's just how you experienced it.
feel. Exactly, man. I think the real what of it comes for, whatever conversation that comes out of it, if any. And we've had a few, where we've had literally no conversation come out of it, like Space Truckers.
We had one where we came up with Spider-Man Show Me the Money because we were so disinterested in
Yeah.
talking about the movie.
Exactly. So, I don't think this is quite the case here, but, I don't know. It's like, I want to say, well, let's start talking about the cast, but then it's like, I know that you guys don't really care.
Let's do it.
You don't like.
The cast is the strongest bit.
I mean, I think it is. I think it's part of what makes, like, from my purview anyway, this being like such a great movie, still holding up too. The cast is a huge part of, a couple of different anchor points that make this really, really good. It's really realistically filmed. Like, there was no miniatures, no nothing. Everything was all real. You know what I mean? Like, the tanks were all like replicas built. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the cast was excellent, man. And it's like got the who's who of, like, all these kids that we loved in the 80s, man, and this is, I didn't realize this is Charlie Sheen's first movie appearance, period.
That was wild.
Wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
it was like the old school, super young Robert Downey Jr. scenes where, like, he didn't even look like himself. I had to, it's like, I'm 95% sure this is Charlie Sheen, but I need to look this up to confirm because he kind of looks so fucking young. It was crazy.
I know, it's funny, when the movie started, I saw him and I was just like, wow, what a interesting path he ended up taking from this movie. Winning, like, I don't know, because he's he's good in this movie. I mean, he was great. He was a great actor, man. And I mean, Swayze. I mean, what can I say? I love Swayze, man. He's great. Just watched Roadhouse again the other night. Another classic.
I was
Oscar
partial to
winner.
that kid that was like fucking cold-blooded, dude.
I
Robert? Was it Robert?
Yeah, C. Thomas Howell, man. Like,
Dude, he fucking laid it out. I loved it. He was so he was so hard.
He was cold. He really was.
Very
And
green.
it was. I mean, I think when he heard that his dad was gone, it was like, that was it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But
Shot his bro.
He's an interesting guy, man. He was like he was like a megastar in the 80s and the early 90s, man. And then he just kind of fell out. I don't know what exactly happened there, but he was everywhere. Outsiders, this,
Pony Boy, that's right.
Soul Man, you know what I mean? Like, he just disappeared, dude.
Definitely remembered him from Outsiders, but Outsiders was the kind of thing where they were like, your English teacher in school made you fucking watch.
Yeah, fair enough,
I
man.
never
I
really
have a
got
copy of
into
that. It's a good movie, man.
The Outsider is good, yeah.
Yeah,
Really good.
And he's been working fucking steady.
Has he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got credits fucking going all the way.
all the way.
What is
baby.
he? But he didn't like his. I guess like the sort of level of like mega fame that he had was. That is not.
Oh, dude.
You know what I mean?
I know what happened to him.
What, the Hitcher dude? What?
Soul Man.
Do you think that's where it all jumped the shark for him?
Yeah, probably.
To achieve his dream of attending Harvard, a pampered teen poses as a young black man to receive a full scholarship. Yeah, that's probably where it went wrong.
Yeah, just thinking that might be where it went wrong.
Ray
Wow,
Don Chong
dude.
was in that. I love Ray Don Chong.
Well,
Yeah.
Ooh, and
I mean,
James Earl
he's been
Jones.
working ever since, though, but maybe that was like the end of his, like, limelight, so to
well,
speak.
wait a second. So he did Soul Man in '86. He also did The Hitcher in '86.
Just before, I believe.
Dude, the cast on Soul Man's crazy. James Earl Jones, Leslie Nielsen, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. All for some college kid to do blackface. That's crazy. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, bud.
Yeah, that was definitely not awesome, but
No, I mean, I think it was like supposed to be well intentioned, but
It always is. Blackface is always supposed to be well intentioned.
I mean, it wasn't some like minstrel shit, but I think it was supposed to be like, hey, we're all the same, or something.
Right.
Like, that was like supposed to be the moral of the story, but it's like, no, man.
I love how like that's just like possibly the most perfect encapsulation of white bread. Like, we'll make this movie. It'll totally show that we care about you. It's like, dude, just don't do that. Please don't do that. It's not a good idea. I meant well. Right. It's like, well, you fucked up. So see you later.
Well, I guess he kind of branched out and started doing some other stuff, writing and directing, and this, that, and the other thing, or this, that, and the third, as this guy I work with always says. But I don't know, most notably to me, like he kind of gained some notoriety when he played Professor Zoom in the Flashpoint Paradox for DC. What, you didn't see that? Why is that funny?
I don't know what that is, and it just sounded so cool. Professor Zune from the Flashpoint Paradox. That's amazing. It's an amazing sentence.
Wait, Professor Zune?
Professor Zoom, not Professor
Zoom. He could store 1,000 songs. So he's like Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh my God! Wow.
Don't be mad. What's Zoom? Is that a comic
I'm
thing?
Trying really hard here, man.
What is it? I don't know what it is.
Dude, do you not know anything about I don't really know a ton about the DCU, dude. You don't know who the Flash is? You don't know who Professor Zoom is?
I don't know who Professor Zoom is.
He's like the anti-Flash, dude. And the Flashpoint Paradox was like a whole like reset they did that started with this animated movie that they made.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. Sorry. I've never been much of a DC head. So.
Nope.
No, I get it. You really ought to watch it. It's excellent. I used to have a copy and I lost it.
I kind of want to push past your frustration and talk more about the superhero that has an implant in his brain that's literally like he fell and like dropped his Zune and it went into his brain and it stayed there and now he has a Zune in his brain.
Isn't there a movie like that?
Johnny Mnemonic.
A kid gets like an iPod stuck in his head or something like that.
Sounds like a dream
It was on Netflix. Vince Clortho actually recommended it to me, and I threw it in my queue and I never watched it.
All right, I'm gonna take an ejection death and look this up.
What
movie where kid gets iPod stuck in head?
It's called iboy or something.
That sounds right. I know I've seen iboy. Like I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the title somewhere. I had never imagined it'd be something so stupid as getting an iPod stuck in your head.
Dude, could it possibly be stupider than this C. Thomas Howell movie from 2014 called Bigfoot Wars?
Oh yeah, it does.
It's right up my alley, dude.
We should do that one.
Dude, I want to see that.
Oh my God.
What does a Bigfoot war look like?
First of all, it's got the little ninja Stark, Arya the ninja Stark in it. And it's about a kid whose like girlfriend gets assaulted and he gets shot in the head or something and part of his phone gets stuck in his head and he can receive and visualize digital signals and like solves a murder by having his phone in his brain. We should probably do this movie. It looks horrifying.
What is that, iboy?
Yeah.
Is that iboy?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. iPod stuck in his brain.
Love it. Well, that was a very random cul-de-sac. Thank you, and you're welcome. I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
Extremely.
So yeah, C. Thomas Howell, crazy ass blackface movie. That's probably the
that was the shark jumping moment, I guess. Yeah.
After Back to the Future stuff, it seemed like Leah Thompson kind of disappeared off the map a bit in a similar way to this other dude.
Yeah, I always felt that too, man.
But she's great.
Awesome. Super dark in this movie too. I love it.
Yeah, the two of them were. I love both her and Jennifer Grey in this.
Yeah, no, I thought they were excellent.
They were the highlight of the movies for me.
Wow, there you go. I don't know. I like Powers Booth in this movie as well.
Yeah, he was so young.
I love Powers Booth in general.
Yeah, me too, man. And I'm a big fan of Lane Smith, that guy that played the mayor. You know, he's the perfect person to play like the ass kissing mayor who like kind of just is all about betraying everybody.
What else was he in? I only.
Oh well, I guess most famously Cousin Vinny.
Yeah,
you know, he played the prosecuting attorney in Cousin Vinny, and
that's the only thing I recognize him from.
Tons of stuff, man. When you look at his like list of stuff, you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. You know, like it's King of the Hill. It's like all this stuff, man.
He's great.
Yeah, he is. He plays a really good douche too. So that's
the cast overall was pretty solid for such a ridiculous movie.
Interesting nugget about that guy. What's his name? William Smith is the actor's name. He played Colonel Strelnikov, the sort of the badass dude that comes in like towards the end, you know.
Oh, the hunter dude?
Yeah, before he murders everybody with the helicopters. Apparently that guy is fluent in Russia because he spent so much time working with the CIA and the NSA before he got into making movies later in his life.
There you go.
So kind of interesting.
I like it.
Yeah, it's weird. The guy looks like he totally looks Russian. He was so convincing, man.
Yeah, the the 4 teens versus 3 gigantic attack helicopters. It was pretty good, man.
Awesome. Super plausible, too.
Totally plausible.
What was up with C. Thomas Howell shooting the helicopter with an RPG, and I don't know, would it just like it hit the gunner and like knocked him? Yeah, it was like the too perfect shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In which he like took out just the gunner, and
like went through the window, open window or something.
Yeah, the guy fell out. Nothing really exploded, and then the helicopter just kind of flew away. And then we find out that there's 2 more.
I kind of feel like they probably just couldn't afford to blow up a helicopter. So they just did that instead. They just set off a smoke bomb inside of it or something.
Well, another small nugget. Those copters were not. They were a particular type of helicopter made to look like those Russian gunships, and then
they were totally fake.
Yeah, and then like a piggyback nugget there. Like some of these exact helicopters were used in Rambo and Rambo and Rambo 3.
Is that a nuggety nugget?
Recycled. That's like a nug within a nug within a nug. That's like an Inception nugget.
A nug Troshka doll?
Yeah, it's kind of 3 levels deep of nug.
Mm-hmm. Like Nugception. I like it.
There you go. Nugception. There you go. I like that a lot.
So bits and bobs. Man, there's just so much bitting and bobbing here.
Yeah, you're go ahead.
I like how they all walk into town and they like, Jenny'll know, and they walk into the shop like, what are you guys doing here? And there's like a random Russian dude just standing up on the balcony.
Thought you were dead. Like, they're looking for you. The KGB. It's like, wait, what?
What? It's been 4 days.
Yeah,
they've already set up a fucking like.
It's been 4 days.
They've already set up like a Russian community center.
It's been 4 days, dude. I know. I get it. Like, you know, one thing too, like now that you guys are like, you know, really pounding the armor of my love for this movie, is that like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, why of all the places, you know, like he alludes that Denver has like, you know, just gone to shit and they've completely occupied it and all that. But like, why have they chosen this little town to occupy and make this sort of like base? Is it because they're like at the front of the Rockies or like, I guess I never really got that. I certainly never thought to even think about why that was the case until tonight. But why is that, man? You know?
I'm with you, bro. I'm on that motorcycle.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, why? What is the strategic importance of this teeny little town in Colorado?
Bumfuck, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely on that motorcycle.
What else?
Very much.
Let's
see. We talked about Will Smith. Ron O'Neal.
Yep. The ultimate Irishman. We talked about Harry Dean Stanton and how much you guys hate him. And we talked about...
Sorry, I was a piece of shit your whole life, but I knew this was going to happen one day, so I did it on purpose.
God. What else? Again, I'll just reiterate, like, I just enjoyed the, again, like, all practical effects. Like, you can say whatever you want about, the structure of this movie and this, that, and the other thing, or this, that, and the third, but, like, all of these practical effects and the tanks that they built and all that stuff was, like, it was really excellently done, man. You know what I mean? Very gritty, too.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great.
The, you spoke about it earlier where they were, like, dioramaing out how they were going to attack an air base. And I just really enjoyed, like the 6 teenage kids taking out an entire fucking air base and blowing up a couple of jets, and that whole sequence was really funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like if you had removed the kids and put Sly or Arnie in as a one-man fucking show, I would have been like, yep, perfect Rambo movie, perfect Arnie movie. But when you have it be a bunch of teenagers, it just makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I thought it was cool. It was I was 12 when this movie came out.
Oh, hey, dude. I mean, it's a teenage kid's dream. Like, don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
I see the appeal.
That's my problem.
I totally see the appeal for a kid.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those movies, too, where your parents probably were, like, not stoked about you watching it. And you, like, snuck a watch in, and you're like, this is my favorite movie ever.
Yeah, I guess. I think that's how it went. There were certain movies I was forbidden to watch, but this is not one of them.
Yeah.
What else? Bits and bobs.
I'm glad they started getting knocked off at the end.
Well, I think, I don't know.
An hour and a half for one person to die.
Well, I guess, but that's another reason why I love this movie and why I think it's great, because it's not like everybody's just like, yeah, dude, and they're right off into the sunset at the end. You know what I mean? It's like they forces the other two to leave because he's like, somebody's got to survive, and it's like basically everybody in the band dies, man. I like that. I like that part of it. It's like just adds more gravity to an already super heavy film, or super serious, whatever.
I enjoyed the Russian tourist scene.
Yeah, I did too, man. Also, like the guy translating the sign like completely incorrectly.
Yep.
Whether that was on purpose or not,
The only thing I remembered about this movie was the drinking of the deer blood scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll bring that up.
That's my bit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, when you guys talked about this in an old episode, I was like, wait, what is this movie about? And watched the trailer. And the trailer made it seem like it was like the town versus the Russians, not like the teens versus the Russians. And so I was a little bit confused about that watching this because classic trailer misdirection bullshit. But I think like the town versus the Russians would have been interesting too. Potentially.
Wait, the what? The towns versus the Russians?
The town, like the movie starts in the same way, and then Swayze like goes to the other side of town and rallies a bunch of fucking gun-toting patriot dudes, and then people kind of like squirrel in and battle it out,
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, coming from your guys' purview, like if they had made that the story, you know what I mean? Like, forget about the kids for a second, or include them in some other capacity. If they had made it like the town versus the army, that would have been probably more plausible than this, I guess. Sort of. I don't know.
Don't know. But you've been sprinkling some serious nugs throughout, dude. You got any auxiliary backup nugs?
I probably got one or two more in there. I don't know. What about you? You got any?
I don't really have any, but I did like the first IMDb trivia nug where when they were shooting the paratroopers flying in, a couple dudes got blown off course, and when they landed, they had to convince the people whose like field they landed in that they weren't actually fucking Russian soldiers. Which, if you're in the wrong town, dude, you're gonna get your ass shot for that. So that was interesting and kind of funny and a reasonably decent nugget.
No, that was a good nugget, man. That is a good nugget. I think, sort of adjacent to that was that the replica tanks were so well done that as they were carting them around L.A., CIA agents ended up following them thinking that they were real until they found out that they were part of a film, which I thought was interesting. And then additionally, when they were filming some of the scenes, like there were tanks and military equipment for the movie, and like again, the CIA thought that it was real. Came and investigated, and were relieved to find that it was part of a movie. I was like, wow, okay.
I like, if you're the effects guys, you'd be pretty proud of your work then.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Yeah.
There was some
whoa
rumblings of boot camps and shit. I would love to see some behind the scenes of all these kids in a boot camp.
Yes.
Right, yeah. There's apparently a lot of training.
Yeah, and our good friend, what's his name?
Dale Dye, man.
Dale Dye was in this, which I thought was cool.
Yes. Yeah. He was the military advisor for the movie.
Most notably known for being in Band of Brothers.
Yes, which I just watched recently. All right, I'll throw down this one more because this is kind of interesting, man. During the 22 Russian invasion of the Ukraine, some abandoned Russian tanks in Ukraine were spray painted with wolverines across it in an homage to this movie, man. Wow.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
That is pretty sweet. This is the one. Okay, so the only other one that I was kind of really, I mean, Swayze is so great. He's powerful. He's a great leading man. Emilio Esteves, Charlie Sheen's brother, was actually originally in the running for the role of Jed, and he had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts, which I was like, wow, I cannot picture him in this movie. Certainly not as that character.
No. I mean, granted, it is a Swayze movie, so you'd be pretty hard-pressed to put anyone else there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'll leave it at that for Nuggets.
Deaths?
Not a whole lot of that going on. Most of the death was in the movie, man. I think you had an ejection death. You had an ejection death before looking up the iPod kid, and then I had an ejection looking up Nuggets. Like that was about it.
Not a lot of death.
No, not a lot of death in the show. Only in the movie. Ratings.
This ought to be good.
No, this is going to be great. I went last on the high level. I'll go first on this part.
Okay.
10
out of 10.
I still love this movie. I loved this movie when I was a kid. I have loved this movie ever since. In my opinion, it still holds up. I do not care if it is an unplausible fictional fantasy. I still think it's freaking great, man. I love the cast. I love the music. I love Milius. I love everything about this movie. And I still will love it. And even all of your hatred missiles that you fired at me during the course of this episode has still not destroyed it. And that is my answer.
I like it. I don't know. I have no idea how I feel about this.
Let Benny go.
He quit.
I did not quit. I'm sitting right fucking here.
See? Dad. Freaking wrong.
I'm sitting here listening to you guys talk about this movie that sucked. Die Hard 2 is a 4, man. I don't know if
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ben. You go. I'm still working on mine.
Okay. I'll give it a 5.
Wow. That's pretty generous.
It's generous, but, I'm giving it that 5 for the cast, essentially, and for the work they did.
Okay.
I think they deserve some credit there. So it's thinly sliced ham. You can see right through it. But
wow.
But it had a good cast, and then they tried to do their best with what they had.
Okay. All right.
You got a minute ago, Kev's like, I don't care about your hatred missiles. And then Ben's like, yeah, it sucked. Okay.
Sorry, man.
Don't be sorry to me. Don't be sorry to me. You don't have to. Yeah, no, you're fine.
I mean, I think like 4 is problematic territory for me. Like, there's something kind of fundamentally wrong with the movie. And then 3 is meh. And in looking at this, I kind of wanted to give it a 4. Huh?
Right. Fundamentally wrong with the movie. Go ahead.
Well, it's more like there's a piece that just doesn't fit,
Yep.
And I think the like infinite ammo, 3 teens living in a house, the real world fucking militia, you know, it's basically like real world militia. And I just thought it was really
dude.
Kind of funny.
So good, dude. You gotta love infinite ammo. Jeez.
Like this guy, like, where the fuck are they getting all those grenades? Like, I know that's a very gripe-a-heavy thing, but like, come on, dude. Like, where are you getting the grenades from?
Oh my god, are you kidding me? It's a totally fucking gripe thing to say.
So I don't know. Like looking at the 4s, I kind of couldn't even give it a 4.
Dude, he pulled it out of the trunk of that car, like.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Shakedown, the pineapples.
And they got those pineapples from Sam Elliott, I'm telling you.
I tell you what. And so it ends up right in the mix with Raw Deal, Next of Kin, and Out for Justice. Like, I think that Raw Deal and Next of Kin is better than this movie, and I think Out for Justice is worse than this movie. So it gets a 3.7, which is basically the same as all those.
Wow, interesting, man. Next of Kin was one that I had really fond, good memories of, and that just ended up being a massive disappointment for me, dude.
Yeah. It's very much in that space for me, though.
I get that. I think it's just interesting to me thinking about all these things and listening to you guys. Like, Raw Deal was one that's like, that's an interesting movie. It inhabits a bunch of different spaces simultaneously, but it still manages to be totally awesome. You know what I mean? Like in its cheesiness and its crappiness, but then it's at the same time it's really good, you know, and it's like Arnold and all that kind of thing. Like I love Raw Deal, you know, like Next of Kin, I was just like, my God, I wish this would end, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
I'd say it's a better Swayze movie, Next of Kin. He does a better job of that, I think.
You think Swayze's better in Next of Kin? Yes, I could definitely see your justification for that. Yes.
I mean, it's not very fair to Swayze because he's so young in this one, but...
Yeah, true, but, you know, I get it. I get where you're at there.
But I'm glad you enjoyed
Makes
watching
sense.
this movie again, Kev. And I'm glad I saw it, but, yeah, I'm definitely middling on it.
No, I totally get it. You don't even have like a jumping off point of nostalgia to grab onto, man, you know.
But, you know, you throw the Western Front viewing the day before and the kind of Ukraine war shit in, and it was interesting to see. Like, it was interesting to kind of look at the old propaganda bullshit and just see where everyone's heads were at in the 80s, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely.
Speaking of propaganda. Next week, we're doing Prey.
Oh, we are?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, there you have it, folks. This is our sort of, I don't even know what the hell you call this, very polarized coverage of this 1984 movie, Red Dawn.
Indeedly.
And that's it. We'll see you. Bye.
See ya.
Ciao.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. If you'd like to check out the show notes, you can do so in your podcast app of choice or at our website, ebd.fm//190?
183.
183, of course, which I'm sure is what I meant. As always, follow us on social media. We spend all our time on Instagram. We have the handle at EBD Podcast there and everywhere else. And if you'd like to support the show, there's a number of ways to do it. You can rate us and review us in your favorite podcast arena. You can tell your friends and various people. You can get on top of a rooftop and shout it out to the world. And you can also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/EBD Podcast. Chuck us a buck or not. And that's it. Thanks for joining us for Red Dawn. So long for now, folks.
Stop into it.